Barbell exercises should always be our foundational lifts. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I thought I would chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this today. But a quick reminder, if you guys would please click like down below, be greatly appreciated. If you aren't following me or subscribed, please do so and drop me a comment down below. I would appreciate that. Thank you so much. All right, let's get over to the topic. When I make this statement, let me be clear, I like dumbbells, I like machines, I even like bands, right? These are all things I use. These are all things I use for my clients. But I am going to tend to promote barbell exercises as our primary base builders. And I believe it's for very, very good reason. Both historical reasons as well as results. Again, it's been my experience that people who do most of their building on machines are, quite frankly, how do I put it? Oftentimes weak, they're oftentimes fragile, higher injury rates. They can't always function the way that we would like, right? So even if they are building muscle, and again, most of the guys who are pretty jacked off just machines tend to use a lot of drugs, and I'm just going to leave that there without going any further. No need to explain that further. But this has been my experience over the decades. But the other thing to think about, we see some of these guys who they train almost exclusively on machines, and then when they do anything, they get hurt. And I even see them get hurt on machines. Look at the Max Usita thing, right? Guy knocked out of the gym for months is nothing but a machine trainer from an injury he got on machines. But again, I'm not saying machines aren't useful. What I'm saying is big barbell movements are our base builders. Okay, they are our base builders. And it's for good reason. It's because of number one, the ability to utilize large amounts of muscles all at one time. It improves training efficiency. In other words, there is enough spillover that you can get away with significantly lower volumes. In other words, if you're doing squat, bench, deadlift, rows, things like that, overhead pressing, you have covered so many wide variety of muscles that got at least some training stimulus that they will grow from, that it allows you to mitigate your overall volume. Okay, so that's something that has to be factored in here. In other words, I'll go so far as to say, so that when I say things like a lot of times lifters can get away with, only 6 sets a week and still get pretty dang jacked, it's because there's so much overlap in these big movements, right? Even here, doing a power curl, right? I'm doing power curls here. This is obviously not a strict curl, not intended to be a strict curl. How many muscles are getting worked here? How many muscles are getting worked because of the weights we're even using on this, enough so they're going to grow? How many muscles of the upper back and shoulder are getting some stimulus, some extra forearm stimulus you wouldn't be getting on a curl, while still working the biceps? And this is what we mean, big barbell movements. Like, I would throw the power curl in there as a big compound movement, right? But just look at a back squat. So look at the amount of muscles that have to be engaged. Obviously, the glutes, quads, and adductors are going to grow the most. Okay, they're going to grow the most. But there have been studies showing that other muscles grow from the squat. Are they large amounts of growth? No. Are they enough to measure? Yeah, they're measurable in the lab. A lot of the muscles of your back, your hamstrings, your calves will all grow from squatting. They're not the primary movers. Same thing with the deadlift. Like, a lot of times people will say, well, the deadlift is really only growing the hamstrings and the glutes, except that at least one study looking at squat and deadlift hypertrophy found that the deadlift built a lot of upper body muscle, a lot of muscle through the back in the test subjects, grew significantly and measurably. Like, when they just did an overall scan, they didn't go muscle by muscle, they just scanned the whole body. Like, man, the upper body, these guys all gained a measurable amount of muscle in the upper body from doing only the deadlift. So this is what we mean. There's a tremendous amount of carryover. In other words, if you use a lot of these big barbell movements, and particularly we start throwing weighted body weight stuff in, my God, weighted pull-ups or chin-ups, weighted dips, right? You start adding this stuff to the equation. there's only a few muscles left that didn't get worked pretty well. So then you can come behind it and refine everything else and go, well, did my rear delts or side delts get enough work? I could isolate them. Maybe the long head of my tricep didn't get enough work. I can isolate it, okay? Except that we can do big barbell movements for the triceps too, can't we? Closed grip benching, extensions. Yeah. Let's not discount all those extensions we can do, right? And we can do those with a normal barbell. I use an easy bar most of the time, but a barbell works perfectly fine for those, doesn't it? In fact, sometimes I prefer to do that. Just for the sake of ease of setting it up. Instead of trying to put a heavy loaded 100+ pound easy bar into a set of hooks. Just saying, guys. We have options there. But by that same token, then we can come through with dumbbells and cables and machines and fix everything else. I think machines particularly have their place for the lower body. So when I make that statement, like this is our base building, but, you guys will see me do belt squats and things. I advocate leg presses. I use a reverse hyper every week. Big fan of the reverse hyper. Okay? So we have these other tools in our toolbox. But the big barbell lifts are going to be our foundation, and they will put the most muscle and strength on you. And anyone who says they don't care about strength, I'm sorry, that's ridiculous. You don't even hang with the old school OG bodybuilders then. That's to me, I come from a different generation of guys where the bodybuilders all cared about what they could squat and what they could bench. And I'm talking to guys who were competing in bodybuilding, guys who cared about their physique. There was a different mindset 25 years ago. Dudes were in the gym still caring about that stuff. Except that a lot of times bodybuilders would care about other lifts, man. I bet you I could incline bench more than you. They cared about this stuff. And rightly so. They should. Right? They should care. So and I think that's very much the point here that needs to be made. Very much the point that needs to be made. They cared. So you cannot stand there and pull this, well, I'm bodybuilding. No, dude, you're just being lazy. You're lazy and you don't want to get in and do some real work. Get under a barbell. All right? I promise you it will make you thick. And that's the other thing. There's a difference in that thickness. Because so many of these other muscles get built, things like all the stuff in the traps and the mid back and everything, when you're doing all the barbell movement. Right? There's a difference between someone who is stronger or not, and you can tell. You can tell. And anyone who argues against that, you guys all know when you're hanging out. You could talk on the internet, but when you guys are hanging out and you bump into dudes and it's all dudes who lift, the dudes who look really strong, you already know there's a totally different respect they get in person. And you guys know that if you've hung around with other lifters. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.